5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome everyone to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. So this is the podcast where my co-host and I listen to all the Cincinnati-based craft beer podcasts and media from the previous week. We get together at a podcast host, and today we are back at Higher Gravity Summit Park. And thank you for being a gracious podcast host. Now, hopefully there aren't too many podsequences.
Media sequences? We have to come up with a new name.
The hosts of the other craft beer podcasts and media. So far, so good in 2024. I am Marco. I'm a taproom manager here locally. And that other voice you heard belongs to the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia. I cannot wait for Cincinnati Toilet Bourbon, and Thursdays are a scam.
Ah, yes. Thursdays are a scam.
They don't exist. Yeah.
We have two other fantastic folks joining us as per usual, which is always exciting, and we're happy to have him. We have the Gnarly Gnome.
Thank you. I like long walks on the beach and Fountain Dew.
Excellent.
Excellent.
And today we have a special guest. So what was fun and interesting, and we're going to tell everybody to go listen to everything and watch everything that we talk about, but the Gnome recorded an episode of Cincy Brewcast, and he had Elijah Moreland as a guest. And
you guys as guests.
And us as guests. And
you guys can talk about it next week.
And that's true. And that's true. And so we have essentially carryover, and welcome to have him back to Truth Beer Pod.
Back.
Elijah, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
Happy to have you. And so, just, getting some stuff out of the way, all the thoughts and opinions on this podcast are ours and ours alone. They do not reflect any entity which we may be affiliated with. I am speaking specifically about Julia and I, and specifically about our full-time jobs or Higher Gravity. The Gnome can express opinions for whoever he wants, and Elijah can express opinions for whoever he wants.
Go ahead, Elijah. Tell us who your thoughts and opinions
My thoughts and opinions are exclusively representing Brett Coleman Baker tonight.
Oh, mine.
Nice.
My thoughts and opinions are exclusively representing Michael Bringsity Morgan tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Excellent.
Definitely.
Fantastic. That is awesome. So no craft beer podcast would be a good craft beer podcast if you weren't having some beverages, and we are doing so.
Some of us louder than others.
Yeah. That's excellent.
It's good.
This is going to be an amazing show.
Excellent. Let's start.
Good Foley cannot be overrated.
You are not wrong, sir.
Setting the scene.
So let's see. Let's start with Elijah. Elijah, what you drinking?
I am drinking a Reinheitsgebot Rosé from Little Fish Brewing.
Ah, okay.
It is a raspberry and hibiscus wheat quick sour.
What?
Yeah. What?
A wheat.
Everybody is surprised that I am drinking a sour.
I am amazed.
With quick
shocked and
sour.
awed. Yeah. Marco?
Like the military initiative
True that.
in Desert Storm.
Marco, what do you have in your glass?
It's a new one. I have Imperial Headhunter.
Oh, nice. Brand new on the board?
Brand new on the board.
Excellent. Gnome?
I'm also drinking a Reinheitsgebot from Little Fish because I'm just, whatever Elijah drinks, I follow behind him and drink the same thing. And they're always good.
It's good to do.
Everything's
Right. I
good.
mean, I can't say I fault you for
This is
that.
a great beer. Freaking love Little Fish. I love that they're in Dayton, so they're a little bit closer for us to get up there, but I'm just glad their beer is here for us to snag because, man, it's good.
Agreed.
Julia?
And then I am drinking a beer that I don't know if I'm going to be able to say the name of properly because of what has transpired on our sister podcast, Cincy Beer Events. This one is from Weldworks Brewing, and it is called Little Man.
Yeah. So
You know what that reminds me of?
No.
Scarves.
Scarves and pieces. It is a salted Oreo stout.
Whoa, hey.
Made with ice cream, Oreos, vanilla, milk sugar, and sea salt. So, Marco, you
My
cannot
God.
has.
It's a lot of
And
things.
I
in a beer.
haven't been interested in pastry stouts or pasty stouts for a while, but I saw that and went, oh, that actually sounds good. And it's under 7%, which is another thing that typically holds me back on some of these heavily adjuncted stouts, especially when I'm out and about.
I discovered something a few days ago. Vincent went. He had to have a packet of Oreos, and
It was not me this time.
they just looked very tempting, and so I picked up the package. Looked
They're
at the
vegan.
package, and yeah, there's nothing I can't have in an Oreo.
That's
nothing,
awesome.
There's nothing natural in an Oreo. It's all
You
chemicals.
can have what's in the middle.
You can have
Yeah.
chemicals
Yeah, hey
all
now.
day long.
Hey now. Thank you to all of you who have been with us for a long time. Thank you to everyone who is new to the podcast. If you're not sure what's going on, listen to this one. If you want to maybe try a couple of previous episodes to see what we have going on, thank you for doing so. And I think you'll get it. Long story short, thank you. And also listen to our sister podcast, Breweries out there. Thank you for listening, and get at us with your events so that we can fill up our sister podcast with everything that you want everything to know about what you're doing. That being said, Julia, what did all of us consume as craft beer content from the Cincinnati area last week?
All right, last week we finally had another episode of the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast.
That's awesome.
We all checked that one out. Excellent. We had an episode of Thirst. Wow, I cannot say that. Thirsty Thursdays,
Thirst Trap Thursdays.
which is
with
which is hosted by
with
Blake
Blake
the
and
Brewery
Noah.
Explorer. Yes, good God, I cannot speak at all. This one was a guest starring the Gnome himself.
the Thirst Trap, actually.
He was the
That's
Thirst
what they
Trap,
call
yes,
me.
yes. We had another episode of Cincy Brewcast about BC's, well, not Liberty. It was at BC's Liberty.
BC's Brewing Company
BC's
in
Brewing
Mason?
Company, yes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Maybe. Listen to our recap to find out what exactly is happening there. We had last night's episode of The Weekly Pint.
Yeah, TWP.
And then we had Barstool Perspective with the two fine gentlemen sitting here at the table with us.
And Michael brings
Brett
it in
and Mike,
Morgan.
exactly.
Yeah, and
exactly.
Brett.
So, Elijah, where do you want to start today?
Let's start with. Let's go with the Brews Traveler. Why not?
Nice.
All right, this was season 4, episode 1, or episode 27. They have both listed, so I was a little bit confused there. But then again, it has been a long time since their last episode. It was June 25th, the last time they put out
Oh, my goodness.
an episode of the Outcast podcast, but that's okay because they have brought it back.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
You were so close this
So
time.
close.
So close. Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh. You're not doing that poorly, Gnome. I mean, just look at Elijah over there.
I'm new to this.
It's hard. You'll get there.
They were at Olentangy River. Olentangy.
Olentangy.
Tangy. I don't know words, geography, places. River Brewing Company in Lewis Center, Ohio.
Yep.
It was the Cincy Brews Traveler, the Kilted Beer Reviewer, and then one of the brewers and one of the co-owners of the brewery in this episode.
Not just anybody. It was Enrique Iglesias.
Himself. Yes, yes. So, Marco, can you speak a few words in Enrique's honor?
See.
Oh, my God. So the format of the show is they typically give some information about the brewery, breweries that are within a certain radius around the current place that they're recording from. They talk about some rapid-fire questions to people involved with the brewery, their size, do they have events, that type of thing. They kind of bucked that system a little bit because they immediately started talking about their brewnicorns, or the most special beers to them, which, surprisingly enough,
Well, I think the format got changed, right? Like they don't.
I think they
just,
started to, but they still had all those same pieces.
No, but they
in
don't
the
like.
episode.
They don't typically just like talk about their favorite beers of all time.
No,
they
normally
talk
that's
about,
near the end,
like,
right,
Is
right.
there a beer here that is like your brewnicorn?
Well, but what they also did, in addition to that, is when they're talking to a brewery owner, a brewer, taproom manager, whoever
Or
they're speaking
Enrique
to,
Iglesias.
or Enrique, they'll ask them, as they're talking to them about kind of their history with craft beer, what is your brewnicorn?
Right.
What is the beer that you enjoy the most, or that you want to find again, that really... Oh, who is this?
That's who he was.
There he is. There he is. Trivia. I've met Enrique Iglesias. I've been to Olentangy River Brewing Company. Like in 2019, we made a trip up there,
Holy
and
crap.
we drank, and we were not the earliest people to drink there, evidently. At 7:30 in the morning, I guess, is the line to hit.
What time do they open?
They open early. That was part of the show.
They said they open at 7. They're a coffee shop also.
And they said nobody has ordered a beer before 7:30.
Are they not allowed to, or just no one's
Nope,
done it?
nobody
done
has.
it.
At which I can't get it out of my head now.
I have a new goal.
I know. I was just
Yeah,
going
we
to say.
need
I
to
mean,
go.
if you
I
offer
actually
it,
just looked it up, as we
how
were
long will it take
getting
to
ready.
get there?
It's like a couple hours.
Yeah.
So we could get there probably. Well, yeah. Let's go.
I mean, we'll definitely be there before
Before
7:30 in the morning.
Exactly.
Get in the truck.
Get in the truck.
They asked one of the most poignant questions of the entire interview for a brewery that's located kind of in the middle-ish of Ohio. Bengals or Browns?
Yes.
Yes. Very polarizing question. And I will still visit.
Surprisingly,
think-
they all said Chiefs.
Oh, no.
We just
Get out.
we love Tay Tay. We just really love Tay Tay. And
No.
They
I'm
asked,
sorry, that's my truth.
wow.
Ooh,
They also
wow.
Will you be my hero?
In addition to that, do Wendy's fries go into Frosties? Like dipping, not like blending them into.
yes to both.
Yes.
Yes to both.
Mid-take. Wendy's fries suck.
You're not wrong. That's why they go in the Frosty.
Yeah, you
It
have
makes
to
them
bet
better.
yeah,
Frosty. You gotta do
They
something.
suck.
Yeah. One of the most important questions that they asked when they were doing their rapid fires.
Be my hero.
How much do they charge for stickers? It's got to be at least $10, right? Yes.
Well, you got Enrique Iglesias on them. Shit.
Well, yeah. I mean,
What's a
does he
banana
sign
cost
them?
anyway? $10?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Next note that I had is we kind of already talked about. The brewery came about because they needed somewhere for better coffee than the local Dunkin's. So it all started out of coffee and then went, we're drinking those kind of brews here. What if we expanded to other kinds of brews?
Actually, I think it started a little bit further back where there were these group of ladies who would get together and discuss the series Desperate Housewives. And then what they did was, one of them was an entrepreneur, and then finally it built to this group of ladies who wanted something more out of different experiences, which grew to coffee, which grew to I'm an entrepreneur, I can do this. And then all the ladies were like, yeah, you go, girl, you can do this. And then it sort of
Direct
built,
quote from the episode.
Yeah.
by the way.
Yes.
you can do this. And then so it grew that way.
Here's my thing. Here in Cincinnati, like there was a little period of time where like breweries were like, you know what, we should be a coffee shop in the morning and a brewery in the afternoon and the evening. And then that kind of went away.
Wasn't that only one location, or
It was a
did other-
couple.
Were
There were a couple
other-
places that did that. Streetside, Braxton. There were a couple
Oh, I forgot
places.
that's, yeah, that's right.
I need more of that. I need places
Agreed.
that in the morning I can go. I can get a great cup of coffee.
If only some place
I just
out there
wish
was going to do that.
Just
That's
wish
so
somebody would do
weird.
that. And then in the afternoon/evening, or maybe kind of mid-morning too. Also, you can just kind of go back and forth.
But why?
That's what I need.
And then after
But
9
why
o'clock,
s-
you turn into.
I would
Rest in
not have
distress.
known that there were empty glass cheers until Matt said, or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
The
Brews Traveler.
Do we have
Oh, we all got
Cheers.
to got it.
All right.
Cheers,
All right,
cheers.
cheers, cheers,
Oh,
everyone.
nothing's on mic.
So it doesn't
There
have,
we
and
go.
we actually have beer in our glasses.
Always.
Brews Traveler.
We're not one of those fake brew.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Beer podcast.
none of the
Exactly.
fake-ass podcasts that don't actually drink.
So if he wouldn't have said anything,
Wouldn't have known.
I wouldn't have known.
I always know.
Oh,
I can tell.
You can tell.
Yeah?
There is a slightly different sound, but I
Yep.
feel that the tinking of the glasses
Ting.
was
Ting. It's
ting-
Ting.
ting.
He Matt specifically calls it ting ting.
Who calls it that?
Shit.
God damn it! Now we got to drink again.
Way to go, Gnome.
Man,
Oh.
Oh,
nice.
All right.
Ting ting, guys.
Oh my goodness.
Ryan Heights go, what?
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 yeah.
All of a sudden, Little John.
Oh my god. Josh would be so disappointed that you didn't wait until I was taking a drink. to do that. But
That
then,
wasn't me. That was Elijah.
Actually,
I'm sorry.
I wasn't looking. So I just. Oh my God!
It was limited fake.
Elijah,
fake
your
Little
Marco
John.
is amazing.
That's what we need to do one of these days, a Marco impression contest.
Yes. Yes. But would it be a straight
Well,
Marco?
it can be whatever you
impersonation,
think it is.
All right. All right.
It could be a Charles Barkley impression.
Yes.
Ooh, goodness.
That impression was so terrible. Oh my God.
Terrible. It was terrible.
Terrible.
All right. Well, I know that
Elijah,
Elijah
you're
has
terrible.
limited time to be here with us tonight, so let's go ahead and kind of wrap up a bit of the
trying to
recap
rein it
on
in,
this.
Julia?
I'm trying.
to
I
keep us
don't
on
know if
track?
I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm trying.
No.
They rated the beers. They talked about what they enjoyed, but then they had a really cool part of the conversation near the end on how commercial versions of a style don't necessarily reflect the craft version of that style. Like, look at the conversation about light lagers. The ones you get that are craft, that are local, don't necessarily taste the same as some of the big macro ones.
Sure.
There is a difference. So, do you think that the craft versions are going to overrun the macro versions,
Never.
or will
No.
eventually? Okay. So people's palates are
Well,
still
great-
going
great
to.
conversation.
People's pocketbooks,
everyone.
not their
All right,
palates.
just
Yeah.
no.
Way to stretch a conversation out. Excellent.
Nope, never. Not gonna happen. Would I like to see it?
Yes.
I think that's part of what makes craft special is that it's not the thing. Like it's definitely big, but there still is macro beer that is still bigger than what craft beer is, and I think that's important to kind of keep the culture of craft beer alive.
You like to
Fair.
keep the David and Goliath aspect.
Yeah, I think that has to always exist. Has to.
I could see that. Yeah.
I think craft beer will always change to always be that too. Like whatever is macro will not be craft beer.
Well, I think to your point is that whatever is macro won't change.
No, it'll change and it'll evolve, and like there'll be different things. Maybe like I think that's
No, but
possible.
I think
I don't
its
know that it
core
will.
product will still stay the same.
I don't know that that's true.
You don't think so?
I mean, I can't foresee where it goes, but but if it does,
I don't see it getting more flavorful.
but if it does, I think
Okay.
craft beer will change around it.
Okay.
So I watched a bad movie review maybe a week ago where the main character was carrying around a case of Bud Dry.
Oh yeah, why ask why?
So-
Try Bud Dry.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I mean, I feel like the big beer, the macro beer, they try to go down different paths, but
Yeah.
things they kind of always fall back to whatever that core product or that small core family of products
yeah,
are.
I mean, it's just
I don't
always-
think that they change as much as
No, it's definitely changed over. Oh, if you look over the history of any macro brewery, it's changed over that time, but it's just gotten more and more watered down and kind of less flavorful and boring.
But talking about craft always being the scrappy underdog, do you go with what is kind of actual craft or what the BA defines as craft, which seems
little
to
bit.
continually being
Well,
inflated and inflated and inflated?
Look, I'm a rare person within that. I don't care what you say. Sam Adams and Yingling are still both craft beer. I think they're
think so.
very much craft beer. They have driven this industry forward. Yingling is doing their thing. They're still family owned after how many hundreds of years of existing. Like that's
True.
that's craft. That is craft beer. Budweiser maybe could have been craft beer if they had stuck
Not
to
sold.
a different pathway than what they did. Maybe they could have
They
done
were
something.
too worried about trying to assassinate Jim Cook. That
Right.
This is true.
Then keep their
This is
business
true.
going.
They were worried about world domination,
Yeah.
and that's not Yingling. Yingling
Right.
doesn't care about the world. They care about growing in the right way possible to keep who they are, what it is. And I think Enrique would agree with me.
all of them,
Yes.
all the Enrique.
What other notes do I have, Julia?
It looks like the only other thing you had were 2 counts that were blended together into one total count.
Oh, let's go.
I feel like we kind of just glanced over talking about the Outcast podcast, but it's a fantastic episode. I am so glad that they are still going out there and putting together content. It was a great interview, a great conversation. So check out this episode.
Great place to visit if you're in Columbus. Get up there to Olentangy River. It's really,
wanna
really
do
great.
that.
Let's schedule it.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's make
Let's
this
go.
happen.
Get in the
So
truck.
there was a count on the number of times real names were used in this episode.
3.
There were more than they caught.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of empty clinks that, again, we wouldn't have known to count
Yeah.
unless they were, well, Gnome, you said that you would have heard that.
Yeah,
so
I
I
can
would have
tell.
had to
Yeah, I
have
can
based
tell.
things off of yours. So the total number of countables that I had, which, again, this is just based off of my listing, so you guys can correct me if you have different counts, were 5 total countables,
Sounds
Okay,
right.
very
Sounds
good.
right to me.
which is 10 ounces, which is just shy of a pint, 0.625 of a pint.
It's a
So not
snifter. You
bad.
get a
You get a
high
snifter,
ABV
yes.
beer and you get a snifter of it.
Sounds
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
I like it.
Absolutely. That is perfect.
I'm here for it.
Did anyone else have any other notes on this episode before we move along?
No.
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 9.
Leon.
The lobster or the...
The lobster. It's always
Yes,
the lobster now.
All right, are we moving on to Thirsty Thursdays, Cincy Brewcast, the Weekly Pint, or Barstool Perspective?
Yes.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
the next part of the show. Like all of those things. Yes, we're moving on to those.
All right, so next in the notebook is...
Does she not know how this thing works?
No,
You
I
just move
don't.
on to the
I'm-
next
I'm
series
new
of
to
shows.
this.
Jeez.
This is only episode 131.
Is that it?
I'm not... Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Full episodes, it's not counting 0.5s or bonuses or
Or
Cincy
times we have to
Brewcast
redo
or
it
the-
because there's too
Oh,
many.
shit, the red button's not...
too I looked up like, oh,
I
shit.
know. I saw the panic in his face. I was like, oh, God. Let's go to YouTube and talk about Thirsty Thursdays with the
Thirst
Brewery
Trap
Explorers.
Thursdays with Blake and Noah.
And this week, the Gnarly Gnome.
The Gnarly Gnome.
Yes.
Oh, that's me.
That is
I was
you.
on that show.
You were on
Remember
that
that.
show. You I recorded. You were present.
It was live.
You were live from 30
Yeah,
Live.
I didn't record anything.
This is true.
I
You had
just-
no part of it.
Just hit a button and went, hey,
You
here
were.
I am.
You were at 13 Below.
And the bartender, her eyes went, what are you doing? I said,
I'm not they talked about how you got into craft beer, which is something that you've touched on in multiple of your own episodes and in some of the other podcasts that you've been on. So I don't think we're going to dive too much into that.
Yeah.
It just boils down to your grandpa only had the very best craft beer in his
Did.
fridge while you were growing up. So Miller Lite is how you cut your teeth.
I'm not sure if
into
my grandpa
craft
ever
beer.
knew the term craft beer. to be honest.
Did he know the term beer or just brew?
New beer. Yeah, beer.
New beer.
Yeah, new
Okay.
beer.
All right.
Burr.
Burr.
You guys talked about how Cincinnati is not a normal beer town.
I believe
which
that.
I really enjoyed that take on it. There are Bach beers that don't exist in the kind of quantities that Cincinnati has anywhere else.
Yeah.
There are lots of pockets of breweries instead of just all the breweries exist in one little radius in the downtown area or in a certain area of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You explained the voice of Cincy Craft, which is kind of the tagline of Cincy Brewcast, or what I like
But
to
it's
say.
not me,
But
and
it's
that
not
needs to be
you.
clear. I'm not
It
the
is-
voice.
Correct. You are the conduit.
Conduit,
to
yeah.
all of the voices that are out there. You were pretty much around from the birth of the internet, which is how you got
I made the internet.
into blogging and how you got
Yep.
into all that. So it wasn't Al
Made
Gore.
it. Nope, it was me.
Oh, wow. Okay. There was a whole lot of Oktoberfest Quest talk.
Of course. Yeah.
Which was a lot of
I drink
fun.
a lot of Oktoberfest beer in
Yes.
my life. Like a lot.
Bachfest. There was nothing like it in the world, according to you.
As far as I know.
You don't believe that there's
I've
anything else?
looked, and I've never found anything like what we're doing here.
They talked a little bit about Missing Link Fest. This was fun, and I absolutely loved this question from Blake. Cincinnati currently has 3 major festival seasons:
Yep.
Oktoberfest, Bachfest, Missing Link Fest. What is the 4th? Why is it Schwarzbier season? And when are we getting a Schwarzbier Fest
Yeah.
out of it? Marco's favorite style of all time.
Yeah.
He
Right.
loves those beers.
Yeah.
But I really love that because it.
I think it
kind of
should be a
shows-
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it should
I
be.
agree.
I mean, you know.
It's the only thing that makes sense to me. Like there isn't really room for. It has to be like winter.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the only
It's a
other season
January
that's left. Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, December, January.
It breaks
is like
up the
right
dry
around there.
January.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Ooh, yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah. But I love that they. So Noah is from Cincinnati, or he lives in Cincinnati. Blake is up in Troy. I love that Blake recognizes that Cincinnati has these beer festival seasons.
Yeah.
So people outside of Cincinnati recognize there was something really cool happening with these very different beer styles and getting huge groups of people together with multiple variants of these beers from different breweries. And it's, I guess when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to sometimes step back and see just how special that is until you hear someone else talking about it. You're like, you know what, that's right. We do have a damn cool presence as far as how we recognize certain times a year with beer, if that
when you look at
fits.
Ohio, like there's really cool things happening in Dayton. There's cool things happening in Columbus. There's great things happening in Cleveland.
What, like Winter Warmer Fest that happens
No,
in
but like
March?
as far
it's
as
in March.
as far as like beer scenes.
Yeah, no,
like there's great breweries
Sure,
and great like
absolutely,
brewery
absolutely.
communities, but they don't have anything compared to what we have as far as like this bigger kind of culture of beer in the city, like where you have these festivals that define seasons and these style things that are like there's no way there are as many Oktoberfest beers or Bock beers being brewed in Cleveland or Columbus as there are in Cincinnati. That just it'll never happen. It can't ever happen
many
because
other-
it's a weird thing we do. It's like it's part of
And-
who we are.
How cool is it that of the 3 fests mentioned, 2/3 of them are lager styles?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And how great is that? That speaks to Cincinnati and what Cincinnati
Yeah.
has.
Yeah, well, and like, and everybody will tell you, like, you know, we'll take Bock as the easy example here. If you make a Bock beer, it's really hard to sell Bock beer out of Bock season. Like,
Oh,
it just
yeah.
people don't care
I
about
mean,
it.
I would buy it year round, but I mean,
It's almost impossible
Sure.
by volume.
Sure.
By
But-
volume.
Right.
yeah.
You know, in pockets, it's not hard,
But everybody keeps doing it because you have to. It's part of being
A
part
Cincinnati
of like,
brewery.
this thing. Like, it's
Yeah.
part of who we are. And like, like if you don't do it, people look at you like, what? What are you doing, man? Like,
Where's
you
your
know,
Bock?
You know, it's Bockfest weekend. Like, where's your Bock? Like, what are you doing? Like, who are you? I'm. See you later. I'm going somewhere else. And like, it becomes like, it becomes part of our personality and part of being Cincinnati. And like, that's important when this keeps growing.
Well, and how many other cities that have a strong beer culture to them?
None. There's no
Are-
such thing as a strong beer culture when you put Cincinnati into the mix. There is no city in this country that compares to what Cincinnati is doing. We're special.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
Not wrong.
I stand firm on that. And
I'll die on that
Well,
hill.
I
There's
would- yeah,
there's
absolutely,
there are
yeah.
there are great beer cities, but it's nothing when you throw Cincinnati into the conversation.
I'm good
That's
with
true.
that.
Yeah, I'm very good with that.
Fight me.
I'll drink to that.
Fight me,
Well,
Portland.
All right.
We
Both
will,
of you.
We will
Both
drink to that.
Portlands at the same time.
Cheers to
Oh,
that.
gosh.
I'll take you
Cheers.
both on.
What
Yeah.
about the Cincinnati and Iowa?
What? There's an Iowa Cincinnati?
There are more than one Cincinnati.
Oh, that's
in
cool.
The United States, yeah.
That's fun. We should send them beer.
Yeah,
We
they don't
should.
have
probably
a
don't have
Bockfest, I
anything.
bet.
No.
We should have sister Cincinnati Beer City festivals.
That would be fun.
That would be
That
fun.
would be a lot of fun.
We
Let's
should
make
call
it happen.
them. Call them right now.
We should set it up.
I don't have their number.
We should set,
1-800
in my other
set it
Cincinnati.
up. We get
Oh.
Michael brings
Two.
D. Morgan to help us set it up.
Yeah, he can do all the research.
He can
for
do
that.
all the research, all the festival planning. He loves
Yes.
doing that.
Save
stuff.
anything historical, and then we just
right.
put it on a party.
There we go. Are the brewery/distilling combinations dead or dying?
No.
We have a good
No.
handful of them here. Yep.
No.
Yep. But it was something that they brought up. Something.
No.
Is that Skeletor?
That was
That was Gilbert. That was definitely Gilbert.
that was Gilbert
I don't know. It
Gottfried.
sounded a little more like Skeletor to
Yeah.
me, but he does. Skeletor and Gilbert Gottfried.
When
do kinda
did
have a
Gilbert die?
similar-
Didn't he die?
Yeah,
kinda.
skeleton.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So it is Skeletor.
Yeah,
it is Skeletor.
could be a thing there.
He-Man.
That was amazing. And then the last note that I had.
Let me tell you a joke.
Oh boy. If you have any complaints about the Gnarly Gnome, send them to Truth Beer and Consequences.
Yeah.
It is the natural progression
Yeah,
of
thanks
how
for the
the
shout
show
out.
works.
Thanks for the shout out.
Of course.
Thursday.
Of course. I'm sure you guys got lots of emails because of it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
What did he say? We don't know. We're just not going to email anybody.
I had 2 different counts for this episode. I had the number of drinks that I was able to catch on video, and then also the number of OBS emojis that popped up
I
on
did
the
see
screen.
some of those when I went back and watched it. I didn't see any of them live.
Okay.
But I wasn't also watching like my screen. I was watching the camera, trying to connect with the audience. But
So to try to solve a debate from episode 200 of the Weekly Pint, what did you have laptop and camera set up? Was it just
laptop and camera? I think the laptop is definitely tied into it. Definitely tied into it. There's got to be something.
I still feel very strongly that it is more the laptop than anything else causing that.
Yeah.
Anything else before we get into the count from anybody? This
No,
was a
let's
great
go.
Thirsty
No.
Thursday episode.
No.
Thirsty Thirst Trap.
Thirsty Thirst Trap.
Thirsty
Thursdays.
Thirst
Thirst Trap Thursdays.
No.
All right. So this episode was roughly 35 minutes long.
Gotta love Skeletor.
There were
Great villain.
There were 22 drinks.
You know what he needs?
What?
A twisty mustache.
And a scarf.
And a scarf.
Nope, not anyway.
If anybody doesn't need a scarf, it's Skeletor.
Nope, not doing it. Not doing it. Not doing
Guess what's
it.
under here, He-Man?
22 drinks, 2 OBS reactions, I guess I'll call them, which boils down to a total of 24 countables, which is 48
Wait,
ounces.
8 ounces.
Do the OBS reactions, like, they count as a drink?
Yeah,
or do they
yeah,
subtract from
I-
the drink? Okay.
I added those as countable.
Okay,
So,
just
you
checking.
drink when those show up. So a
Gotcha.
total of 24, which is 48 ounces, which is a full 3 pints, one for each of you.
There you go.
Oh.
Works
I-
out incredibly well.
I like that drinking game of whenever they pop up, you you drink.
You drink.
Yeah. Yep.
Agreed.
Noted.
Boy. We are all in trouble. I'm in danger.
Is there a camera somewhere?
Lasers. I was actually kind of upset that you
The
didn't end it.
lasers are my favorite.
I'm actually kind of upset you didn't end Thirsty Thirst Trap with,
If-
the lasers. at the
If I
end.
had recognized that
Thirst
they were
Trap
happening,
Thursdays.
I would
You
have
would've
done it.
done
But yeah, and not acknowledged it during the show because they would have seen it.
Right, and they would have been like,
How did
what
you-
is
going
happening? What is going on here?
on? That's funny.
All right. Well, Elijah, do you need? I think most of us are still good. Do you need a refill before we move on, or
I'm
do you
good to
need
move on. Yep.
You're good to move on.
Good,
All right.
Good to go.
Do we want to talk about all things Gnome, or do we want to talk about Barstool Perspective?
I feel like we should break it up. Let's go Barstool perspective. If I
Barstool?
get a vote, do I get a
All
vote?
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know. I don't know how this works. You guys normally
Absolutely,
just
sure.
kick me when I vote.
I tried, but I accidentally hit the table leg. I thought it was
Well,
your leg, and
Marco
you didn't
was trying
respond.
to kick me, but his little legs
leg's
are so
too short.
tiny. Can't reach me from over here.
I couldn't reach. All right, so this episode of
It's a joke, guys. He's really tall. Like, Marco's really tall.
It's-
It's just a joke we
it's
do on the
kind
show.
of-
I feel
kind of
especially tall at this table.
wow,
Just trying
wow.
What's funny is
Jeez.
if I was in Mexico, I'd kind of be tall.
to... Me too.
How you do that, sir?
All right, episode of Barstool Perspective
Elijah
from
would be a center.
Never mind that I can't make a basket.
wouldn't matter.
Elijah would be king.
Pass it
Yes.
to the dog guy.
All right, this is the episode that aired on January the 29th, 2024, Taproom Closures, Consolidation, and the Uncertain Future of Craft Beer, which is a very long title for an episode that was under 14 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
super
maybe,
short.
Maybe we can keep the recap to under the time of the episode.
Barstool perspective.
Yes.
It was not our typical show that we always watch.
Yeah.
This is true.
Barstool
This is
perspective.
true.
It was
It was a
Barstool.
different-
They were
Barstool
back to being Barstool's perspective.
Yeah.
Until the end of the episode when they were Barstool Perspective
you're
or
right.
something
Well,
a little
that happens.
awkward.
That's when you're a bar that is trying to cheap out on your decor and you have all those electrical spools everywhere.
Yes.
That makes sense.
The table.
That tracks.
Yes.
Yes. The table and the chairs and
Yes.
pretty
Yeah,
much
right.
everything else. You are not wrong. They talked about overrated beer styles in 2024. pretty much all New England IPAs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
pasty stouts. As
Yeah.
you know, I drink one now. And as I was listening, I'm like, I agree with that. I'm kind of tired of those. And then I see this one in the cooler when I got here, and I'm like, oh,
That sounds good.
I really want that.
I haven't one of those.
So I am part of the problem, but I also haven't had like a actual pastry stout in quite a while.
I think that's
Like
that's the only one where I was a little bit of Brett's like old man yelling at clouds is pastry stouts. I think it's easy to knock on that and say it's too ubiquitous, but that's a few years ago. I think it's settled down a little bit recently, but you can.
There's still a lot of them out there,
There's
but
still
I
a thread. There's still a trend.
The joke. I think the joke was put out there. Oh, lactose anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the response was, what about a good like milk stout?
Right.
Right.
And then it's like,
You're not-
oh, you're
well,
right. Like,
yeah, there's those.
Lactose isn't the problem.
No.
Like there are great
Unless
beers.
you're Marco.
Yeah, there are, well,
Yeah. Well,
Just
Then-
disclose
Lactose is a
the
problem.
lactose in your drink. Just
I would
disclose
say
it.
Talk about
that
what your allergens are.
the lactose itself is not the problem. Marco is the problem in that case.
So what's
is the
overrated
problem.
this season? Marco.
Correct.
there are really great beers that have lactose in them. There are really great beers that probably have Skittles in them. There are really great beers, but you cannot like take a style or take an ingredient or take an idea and say everything that does this is wrong and it's overrated. Like no, it's the proliferation of unbalanced, crappy beers.
There we
I would
go.
agree with
That's
that.
the
I would agree
problem.
with that.
Oh, also,
And Marco.
Homer
Marco's also
Simpson
the problem.
invented the Skittle beer.
Right?
Apu, give me one of those beers has a Skittles in it. Mr. Simpson knows such beer exists. Okay, give me a 6-pack of Duff and a pack of Skittles.
Yeah.
He was the original.
And now that beer exists.
Yeah, right.
Good God, we have the Simpsons to blame for pretty much everything.
Yeah, right.
Actually.
Simpsons
I
did
mean,
it.
they
Simpsons to blame and thank for everything in
True.
modern society.
true. Very,
To
very
be
true.
the problem or the solution and cause of all of life's problems.
I mean, alcohol is the solution
And the cause.
and the cause. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I thought you were just talking about that it was soluble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It was more of a
yes.
science
Is
thing,
it-
but it all
Oh,
works out.
it was a
Hey.
nerdy thing.
Yeah.
I get it.
Did you though?
Some nerd.
I didn't until you pointed it out. Thanks.
Speaking of problems, watch your white wine. It could be cocaine.
Could be.
Could be.
I've started drying out every bottle of white wine in my house, just hoping to make a little bit
just
of money.
in case.
Turns out it's just wine.
It was
wine.
just wine. Yeah.
Just wine.
Now there's just these weird like paper towels laid out all around my house with dried wine on them.
God damn it.
Yeah.
There's
And
no-
your wife's just like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, my kids are confused. Like, Dad's doing that thing again where he just does
sets up
weird
a
stuff
camera
around the
and-
house and tells me not to touch it.
Why is he pouring out a bottle of no?
Yeah,
What?
Yeah. Speaking of wines, cans of wine are increasing in the market, and cans are 70% of craft beer in the market, but their
Which is-
recyclability is complete bullshit.
That number in itself is kind of crazy to me
It
when
really
I think
is.
about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
70%, like it feels
70%,
like way.
which, I mean,
I mean, I look here and
right.
that's about right, but like this is not your normal kind of beer store.
But think about all the beers that used to be in glass
Yeah.
that are now showing up in
Yeah.
cans.
Yeah.
Big Bad Baptist, Dark Charge. I mean, cans are,
All of your big seasonal double IPAs are now cans.
Yep, they're putting more and more
But-
into 19.2s.
But
I
Brett
mean,
wants to make you think that they're not recyclable. They are.
They are.
Sort
I
of.
think his
Sort
point,
of.
I think
Now,
his
and-
point about them being plastic lined is they're not as environmentally
Easily,
friendly.
yeah.
Right. You're still putting microplastics out into the
There's-
world when you're doing anything with an aluminum can.
Well, there's a couple layers to that too.
Sure,
Like
right.
cans,
Yeah, this is very
cans as we think about them. When you just like drink your craft beer and then throw it in like this, you cannot just throw in your recycling bin and it'd be recyclable. You got to get this label off of here
which
before
I
it's
pull
recyclable.
all my labels. Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that. So like, no,
That
this
is
That's
a big
why you have a
fact.
good beer fridge, because you peel the label off, you slap it on your beer fridge.
Yeah.
I turn mine into magnets. That way I don't lose them when I replace the fridge or
Smart.
something happens.
I stick them on surfaces in my basement. Right now, the stage is the project.
Ooh, nice.
The whole
Very nice.
floor of the stage is.
Do you have a criteria for what labels
Nope,
you put?
nope,
Just
just
any
stick
and
them all there. And
Okay.
if it's lame, I'll put something else over top of it.
That's fair.
That's nice.
That works. Let's see. What else do we have here? Mike is incredibly upset about
Handsome? Oh, sorry.
Sure, that too. That too. I mean, it is very.
Marco, why'd you say that?
He gets that like reflection off of his head. You lose yourself
Yeah.
in looking at him.
I do. I
He
mean,
is
you do.
Lose
We
yourself.
do,
People
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
People do.
You
like, in a
and Eminem all lose yourself.
broader
People do.
sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is incredibly upset at the price of wine in baseball stadiums. He was
that's
incredibly
man.
upset.
How many
Everybody wants to-
people
About
have
that.
bought wine in a baseball
How
stadium?
many people haven't bought wine at a baseball stadium?
I've never bought.
I've never bought wine at a
Yeah, I've
baseball
never
stadium.
bought one.
I've never bought
Yeah.
wine in a baseball
Also,
stadium.
ballpark. My wife is very big on.
Like the hot dogs?
It is a ballpark, not a stadium.
I appreciate that. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
There
That
are
is fair.
some ballparks that are stadiums. You know, Riverfront was a stadium,
It was a
Yep.
concrete donut.
but Great American is a ballpark.
The old
That is fair.
wasn't the old Astrodome
You know,
Mm-hmm.
a ballpark and a stadium?
I don't know.
the Gnome Dome. That's neither a ballpark nor a stadium.
That is
that's
an
a ball-
entity
that's
in and of
inside.
That's
itself.
a ballpark.
Oh, no.
Depends on who comes to call.
It's always a ballpark.
Yeah.
A really kind of deep conversation that they had about Budweiser shutting down more craft breweries. Did the places that they bought, or these places that are combining and becoming conglomerations, are they losing their soul because Big Beer bought them, or because that soul couldn't be spread amongst all the different locations?
I think it
Which I like.
depends. I think it depends. I think one example, Golden Road. I think that
Cold Road
example,
never had a soul.
that never had a soul. That was
Yeah.
purely made to be sold to them for their upscale, way.
Taproom experience, whatever you want to
No,
call it.
it was just it was made to be attractive to be sold,
Yeah.
and they did it. And now, they're closing the facility, and
And good riddance.
good riddance. That
So the places that did have soul prior to being bought or to being consolidated,
Yeah.
did Big Beer buying them? Is that why? Is that the reason for them losing their personalities, or did Big Beer gut that out of them? Like, is it?
It's a little bit of both, in my opinion. Like, I think that some of those could have continued to evolve and flourish and develop a better personality or a better soul. Like, soul comes over time. But there are definitely some that, like, they were hurting, and Big Beer came in and just said, nope, you'll never survive.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is that it seems like that Big Beer is not willing to concede the fact that craft breweries work on an entirely different margin and sort of front-facing perspective.
They'll never get it.
That's
Yeah.
A craft brewery's profitability is far lower, and if you want,
Well, here's the whole joke of all of this. Craft beer is not good business.
it's not.
It's not a
No,
good business. It's
no.
not a smart thing to do. It's not. You're not going to get rich off of it. You're never going to be fulfilled emotionally. Like, it's not smart. You do it because you love craft beer.
Right.
Like, that's it. Like, it's
Yeah.
just it's a passion. Like, and that's all it'll ever
And-
be. And some of us freaking love that.
The wildest thing to me in the AB InBev discussion is Wicked Weed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the Funkatorium is still good. Like,
The soul's gone though.
the soul's gone, but the food and the beer they're still tasty.
It's a fine place to go and sit down and have a beer. And
But yeah, it's soulless, but somehow the quality of product is still there.
Yeah. Well, that's AB InBev has all of the ability to create great products.
Right.
Like, there's nothing stopping them from putting out good beer. Just that most people don't care about good beer. And so Wicked Weed is a great example for them. It's a blip on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Right. It probably doesn't even register.
They don't care about Wicked Weed.
They're probably like, oh, that
somehow
still exists.
it just keeps sneaking by some person that's cutting shit off. At some point, it'll get cut off. It'll get destroyed, and it'll be like, oh, what is this?
Just
what is
before
this?
Goose Island gets cut off.
Wicked Weed. What is this? Cross it off.
I get why the bigger profile and the number crunchers and everybody are not happy with some place that just essentially trades dollars. We make something, we bring something in, it's profitable enough to sustain itself, but it's not actually contributing to the greater good. And if they would just understand that in itself is actually being and capturing so many more people and connecting them to that brand, and those dollars you bring in, like I get the fact that they don't get it, and I get the fact that they see that it's not a, say, 40 to 60% return on their spreadsheet. However, it's still market share.
Well, here's
and if you can still do that, there has to be. It's just like marketing, like and social media. How do you quantify these things? Some place that's actually just paying for itself. Why can't it keep just living?
Well, here's the joke of it all. And if you work for Anheuser-Busch, turn your phone or whatever you're listening on off. If Anheuser-Busch put money into their craft beer and really started pushing it, and really started kind of being craft about it, and just acknowledging that this is either going to break even or lose money for a long time, but we're going to do it the right way. We're gonna support the actual craft of this thing, and then after that starts to stabilize, and we start to feel good about where it is. We make these tap rooms, and there's Budweiser on draft next to a full lineup of craft beer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we tell people, like, hey, here's who we are. Like, we're Anheuser-Busch. We were one of the breweries that made American beer. We created a style. We helped create a style with other breweries. We built American Light Lager, which I know you don't like, but here's what it is, and here's why we did it. Here's the other beer we make. Here's who we are. And then you introduce people to light American lager done a way that nobody else is doing.
You end up with a tied house system that way.
And you create this thing. Guess what? I would go to that tap room.
I would.
Yeah,
I would go
too.
there,
Yeah.
and I bet that I would freaking drink a Budweiser out of like a really cool, like big fluted Pilsner glass.
I mean,
and a
that's
big freaking foamy head on top, and it's beautiful. And it's
the
like,
thing about going to Pilsner or Kel, actually in Pilsen, right?
Yep.
Is that you go into their cellar and you try Pilsner or Kel from a cask.
Yeah. Here's what this beer is, and here's why. Here's why it changed. Here's why it's changing. Here's who it was. Here's who it's gonna be. Here's why it's that way. And here's these other places that we also love, like that we think that they make a style great. There's no reason that AB InBev couldn't dominate craft beer. Just that they're lazy. They're just lazy.
It's a quick ROI.
It's laziness. It's disgusting.
I would agree.
What else you got?
Couple other notes. So kind of on that same line, based on
Oh, hang on.
history.
Let me get off my soapbox. There we go.
Oh my God, you're like a foot shorter than I thought you were.
Well, it was a big soapbox.
It was a big soapbox. Rip to the St. Bernard Soap Company down in Spring Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah. Based on history, more consolidation is coming. Also, so are more New England IPAs and pasty stouts.
Yeah.
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 And then before I get to the sip count for this episode, Mike's no look pour was epic. Oh my God. That was like the little shift.
We saw.
What I want to know is there a monitor in front of them that maybe
Nope.
you can kind of know? So he,
Hey, you've been there.
Nope.
Yeah.
No monitor.
Mike, props to you for that. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I did notice Brett was drinking Cappy Snacks.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
excited to try that.
yeah,
I'm so excited
very
about that.
excited.
I find that
So
fascinating too, like watching where he interjects Urban Artifact and where he doesn't. Like
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
like, here's a product. I should probably be drinking this right now and let you guys know that I'm drinking it.
Yeah.
And then times where he's not.
Yes. I wonder how intentional the label
Oh.
facing or not
Oh.
It
facing
has to
the
be
camera is.
totally intentional.
You know,
Here's the thing though. Like I don't know that it's intentional on his part as much as it is producer's part.
Yeah.
They'll like come in there and like, hey, you got to turn that, man.
All right. Very nice.
When they're not knocking shit off behind the scenes and
That was a ghost.
no, that was
I don't know what you're.
definitely producers.
Was it one of the rats coming out of the holes in the floor, maybe?
They closed most of the holes up. It's
Most of
looking
them?
pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
Getting
nice.
there.
Well, this recap has officially gone on longer than the episode, as we
of course.
The way it works.
tend to do. Mike had a total of 6 drinks during the show. Sips. He did not like
Sips, sure.
cans, whatever.
Sips.
Brett had 21.
This is
Hell
why your
yeah.
sip count is not accurate.
You're right.
There's no way that Mike drank less beer than Brett did. No way.
Go back, count yourself.
No,
if,
I'm
you
not-
if you can prove me wrong,
Quantity
I am
of beer, not necessarily
Yeah,
just
yeah.
sips.
I'm not
Correct.
doubting
Just
how many
the
sips.
number
I'm
of
doubting,
times
This is
that you know.
Julia's,
doubting your
look it
than
up.
2 ounces equivalent. That's what I'm saying.
Because some of his sips are tiny.
Just saying, ounces wise. We
That's
all
not
know Mike
Yeah.
had more.
true, but that's not what
Right.
And
what our
probably
drinking
before the
game
show
is about.
started.
Oh, I mean that wasn't a full glass that he started with. All right, so in grand total, the countables, there were 27 sips, which is 54 ounces, which is 3.375 pints. If you are playing along with
Okay.
our drinking,
All right.
all right.
Well, I'll play along.
There we go.
All right, let's go.
I need a refill.
I think all of us need a teeth are floating break and then get a new beer.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, guys, let's see if we can actually do this time. We have made it.
Back!
God damn it!
Back! Oh, jeez.
I'm sorry. I
Back?
got excited.
Back?
He premature back.
Backed all
Anything
over.
premature is bad.
Jeez.
Oh no! All right. Well,
Then I
Elijah
got
has.
confused. I started backing everywhere.
You backed it.
Elijah has to leave in like 20 minutes, so we are going to do the fastest 2 recaps of the Weekly Pint and the Cincinnati Brewcast.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody.
Everybody, when we say the Cincinnati Brewcast instead of the Cincy Brewcast, we cheers.
We drink. Yes, we cheers and drink. We
And
don't
drink,
We don't
yeah.
just do one.
We don't
do
do
it all.
no.
Uh-uh.
No, we have to do both.
Bofa.
we're all about doing both. All right. So, do we want to start with Weekly Pint or Cincy Brewcast?
Yep.
Okay, Weekly Pint because that was a shit show of a show because of your internet. So real fast for people that are going to be listening or well, not really listening. You haven't put it out in podcast form.
Haven't done
in
that for a while.
In a bit.
We'll get there.
So if you want to watch episode 202 of the Weekly Pint, lots of anniversaries, lots of great beer. Watch it on Facebook because YouTube, the video and audio, both were doing the. So like I'm watching, going, he is skipping around all kinds of ways, and that's not what it was on Facebook. So I went and rewatched it on Facebook, which again the video cuts out here and there, but the audio stays clean
I will
throughout.
say, because of the way I watch, and Rachel was watching with me, and
She's a big fan of the show, is she?
Absolutely, she
yeah.
is. Yeah.
I was watching on YouTube on the TV,
Yeah.
and I always have Facebook pulled up so I can comment on my phone. When the video started cutting out on YouTube, I just turned the volume up on my phone, and everything was consistent on YouTube. I was able
Yeah.
to, on Facebook, I was
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
keep going on Facebook.
The first thing that was brought up in this episode, in this show that was not a show, should your glass have chill or should it have no chill?
Yeah.
It depends what your can tells
Yeah.
you to do. Always
So it's
listen
all
to the
based on the
cans.
can? All right.
Always listen
All
to
right.
cans. Yeah.
Love cans.
Although Alchemist in Vermont tells you not to do anything outside of the can.
That's right. Keep it in the can.
Keep it in the can.
In the can? All right. Unless other cans say to take it out of the
Nothing?
can.
Yes.
No.
No,
No.
not at all.
Leon.
Yeah.
You talked
little
about
guy's
some
still here.
Put it in your can.
It's Leon. Jeez.
you talked about the best things that you drank in the past week, which pretty much boiled down to just that weekend because
Barley wine.
lots and lots of barley wine and some habaneros IPA
And some Brett Pilsner.
Brett Pilsner, yes. It was all about anniversary beer.
If
or
Urban
anniversaries
Artifact
that
did
you
a
were-
Brett Coleman Baker Pilsner, I think that would be great.
I don't know
That
why
would
they
be
don't.
amazing.
Some of their Brett beers have been some of my favorite beers
so
that they've
good.
made.
A Brett Coleman Baker beer
Yeah.
would I'd have too many of those in my cellar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, we're getting down a rabbit hole.
You also talked about
Leon's
the
gonna-
swan.
It could
Pinch
be
my
a
feet.
Brett/Pumpernickel, and then we call it a Brett Coleman Baker.
I see what you did there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. You talked about Swine City's new water feature that they put in for their 6th anniversary.
It was damp.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Shout out to Elijah and the Train Tracks episode, which
Yes. Yep.
which was Truth, Beer, and Consequences episode 103.5. It was a bonus, so that's out there, so you can listen whenever you go, what the hell are they talking about with these train tracks? That
it's worth a
explains
listen, let me just
everything.
tell you.
Yes,
I'd link in the
absolutely.
show notes if I was better at life.
I'll do it for you. Well, I'll do it in our show notes. I can't do it on
Can't
your
do it in
show
mine,
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get a person at some point. Just go and update all that stuff.
You went over almost all the
Hire an
beers in
intern.
your cellar.
At some point.
Hire an intern.
Get a free college intern somewhere.
It's not free anymore. You can't.
Oh yeah,
You can't hire free interns anymore.
yeah.
There was some talk about Ravinia. We're going to pretend that that's the proper pronunciation of it. Brewing in Chicago being sued by Ravinia Festival, which is.
I wish
that
the
whole
internet was not
thing-
crapping out because I wanted to talk
Oh my
about
God,
that.
was
It's crazy.
so
weird.
great.
It's
I wanted
a
to
crazy
talk about it
story.
as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a crazy story.
Because, like, the festival's like, well, they're infringing upon us because they sold a beer with a music-themed name, which makes people think that they're associated with us. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
How
look
does
up
the
story.
festival have enough money to run a brewery into the ground?
Apparently, they bring in like millions of
I'm
dollars.
I'm
Like, when you
fascinated
look-
by
when you
so
look down
many
into it,
pieces
yeah.
of this. Yeah.
Who are they bringing in? Like, what is happening?
Jason Aldean and
Luke Bryant.
Taylor Swift
Yeah.
and Enrique Iglesias is going to show up. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain. Yeah, yeah.
He's a
And
soft commit.
He is a soft commit. He's not hard
Soft.
yet. Eventually. Eventually. 16 Lots Southern Outpost. They're
Wiener.
gonna live along. They're gonna live for another week. So
Yeah.
we will see what happens with them as we go.
Do we just check in
It's-
with Gnome week by week?
Day
No,
by day.
Day by day.
It's day by
They're-
day.
They're
Day by day.
posting on Facebook every
You have
day.
to
Hey,
know
every
today
day.
our hours are this.
If it's
hey,
day by
today-
day, you have to know a day in advance whether you're going to make it or not.
No, before you get in your car, you have to get on. Like, are they?
Yeah.
does
Are
it
they
Today
also-
exist?
was $50 bottles of Buffalo Trace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They had a couple bottles there. I mean, they're doing what
They
they
gotta do.
can. Yeah, absolutely. Cincinnati Distilling and their Fountain Dew bourbon.
Fountain Dew.
I pre-ordered my bottle as well.
Me too. I'm so excited.
I heard
gonna be
about
great.
that.
The
I knew that you did.
most of the comments are not on the Cincinnati Distilling or the March 1st.
No, they're not.
Facebook post. It's on the, I believe, the local 12.
Oh, it's
Story
so
about
it's
it.
so good.
They're amazing.
It's so good.
And it's like part of me just wants to go, don't you guys realize that most of our drinking water comes from the Ohio River?
No, people have no
anyway?
idea
But no,
anything.
they
Yeah.
no.
People know nothing,
They know nothing, Jon Snow.
right?
But yeah, the social media
I
comments
peed in
are
that fountain.
great.
Doesn't
Mean it's
not
coming
really
out of the anyway.
Doesn't just
Yeah.
They don't
doesn't-
understand
Right.
how recirculation
Yeah.
and
filtration,
Hy- hydrodynamics
purification, and yeah, there's a whole
Tell
thing.
us
But that'll be
30
that'll
seconds
be-
on that, Elijah.
Ooh,
Water goes in here. It gets recycled. It goes through the water plant. It gets filtered. It gets cleaned. It comes back out. It's clean.
Hey, how about that?
there we go. There we go.
Or I was-
Gnome is going to build a satellite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta
And
fix
that's
a shit.
Not how the internet works.
You remember
but
those giant fucking
That is exactly
satellite
how the
dishes?
internet works. There's satellites involved somewhere.
There are for some satellite internet providers.
No,
but
the internet
sorry.
at some
Good
point there's
download
satellites
speeds,
everywhere.
bad
Shit
upload
upload
speeds.
speeds.
That's it. That's the problem that we run into
Who's your
sometimes.
ISP?
Sounds like me in my 40s.
Spectrum.
Yeah, the way cable works is the more people that are on at the same time, the worse your speed is going to be.
Yep.
Yes.
That's the way I am.
When you can have great
Certain
download
other
speeds,
things.
which for most people, download is
Sure,
all they
is
really
all that-
care about.
Right.
But when you're trying to do
Upload speeds are what I care about.
absolutely. I only saw one sip during the time that video was actually functional.
That's because I was busy throwing bottles at the wall and
This is
stomping
true.
on routers.
Let the bottles hit the wall.
So that is 0.125 pints of a pint.
Okay,
Whatever.
All right, moving on.
All right.
acceptable.
It is, yes.
I finished the beer, if anybody cares.
Good
drank it.
conversation that you tried to have about some good topics. Next week will be better. That's just what it is.
We hope.
We hope.
It has to be. It has to be. All right, Cincy Brewcast, Volume 9, Episode 21. I promise BC's is actually a brewery, or will be soon.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Sort of,
believe it when I
sort
see
of,
it.
kind of.
All right.
I promise. We didn't drink their collaboration beers on the show,
No.
which is funny.
No.
Yeah.
So the title of the episode is it's going to happen. Yet they
Yeah.
opened up by saying we've decided not to open a brewery.
That's right.
Instead, we're going to open up an ice cream shop. So,
Ice cream and coffee, I believe.
Yeah.
God, all the coffee.
Yeah.
A lot of coffee.
Coffee, so much coffee. That's going to be fantastic.
Shout out to them. It's been a long time since I heard Brian, Caleb, and Ryan's
Yeah.
voices. Julie and I used to. Anybody who's
Oh, yeah, you
listened-
guys abandoned them. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
left them.
Yeah.
And now they
And
just
now
can't
they-
figure out who they are.
Yeah, Julie and I used to see.
We made them who they were.
We see Brian every now and then, Caleb occasionally, but Ryan used to show up and we talked to Ryan.
Yeah,
And so it's great to hear their voices. I personally am just way too swamped with a lot of stuff to get out to Liberty. I just can't.
Sure. Yeah.
I get that.
Actually, whenever, if ever, the brewery opens, it's not that far from my house.
Right.
Maybe 10 minutes ish.
Still going to take me
Right.
90,000 hours to drive there from Delhi.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
but
do
It was
want to get up there.
It was fun, exciting, and nostalgic to listen to them.
Oh, God,
I love those guys.
They're fantastic.
They're
It was funny because Ryan has never been on the show before. And so when we were getting ready to go, I said, hey, introduce myself and everything. He's like, he's like, I think we've met before. I said, I'm sure we have. Like at some point, he's like, I'm pretty sure that we sat on a couch and got drunk together at Friends Fest at Mad Tree. I'm like, we might have done that. And I have this vague memory of
Which
me
is funny
sitting on a
because
couch
you
getting
didn't
drunk with
ask him to talk about himself or introduce himself until like 45 minutes
Yeah,
into
that's the way we roll.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. Did you happen to look up or recall the last time you talked to BCs on your show about BCs? Or do
no.
you have a guesstimate of when
Oh,
that
this
last
is
time
good
was?
shit right here.
No,
This
all right.
is Julia. I love
say-
it. Investigative
I'm
reporting.
going to say July of last year.
Nope.
Almost. Volume 8, Episode 13, July 25th of 2022.
Oh.
You are
Ooh.
good.
Oh.
You are good, sir.
You're a year away.
That's close.
Yeah. Getting the month.
So
I mean,
close.
that's-
Yes. Yeah, when you've been
Phenomenal.
on the show for 9 years, that counts.
Yeah.
absolutely does. So BC's talked about how their HOA has been dropping bylaws on them about things they need to do to their building months after, like they should have told them
Yeah.
about this. This is why you don't buy a location in an HOA. They'll hit you with fine after fine after fine. And then you learn that in addition to that, every single problem that they've had is Duke's fault.
Everything's Duke's fault.
Everything's Duke's fault.
There was a lot of problems. Like I would drive past there, and there were 2 roll-off dumpsters in front of their place, and they didn't know who one of the dumpsters belonged to.
Right.
Yeah.
And
right.
so
I
I
blame
don't know.
AB InBev. I think it's
Yes,
by them.
yes.
And then
That's why they had a parking lot, and then they didn't have a parking lot, and then they had a parking lot.
They had a parking lot, and then they didn't have. Yeah, exactly. And then
Yep.
they were building the roundabout, and it was a fucking mess.
And then it was a square, and then it was round again. Yeah, it's been confusing.
All the construction vehicles were parking in their quote unquote parking lot.
Yeah.
And it's crazy what's going on over there.
Minutes left. Let's go over a couple other notes here.
She shut you up.
I'm trying.
Shut up, Marco.
Because I want to properly
fine.
be able to
Valid.
outro Elijah. Did COVID change the business or the industry, or were those changes already coming and COVID just kind of amplified or accelerated those changes.
Yes.
I think that's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
They need
I
to
know. I
dive
looked at
into
Elijah. I'm
more.
like, oh, he has stuff to say about this one.
They
Like, I
give
know.
their opinion and their take. But Elijah,
I think COVID changed. I mean, it changed everything. It sped up everything. But some things it didn't really change.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it highlighted things that were already there for a lot of places,
Right.
and a lot of things that were already happening,
Mm-hmm.
and it just said, "Hey, now it's happening."
Yeah.
and it just kicked everybody into this other thing that they weren't really ready to go into yet.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody
It
has
made them do it.
Everybody has a thing to blame, but it's not really that thing's fault.
Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of blame, they blamed Marco and I for the Montgomery location shutting down.
I 100% blame you guys.
We offered, like, when they said, hey, we might be changing some things here, we said we will record from, like, your beer garden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we won't even ask to come inside, and they just went, no. We don't want you here. You're too
That's
loud.
what you would say.
You
That's what
cause
you would
too much
say.
of a ruckus when Karens want to have their 40th birthday party in our tap room.
Yeah.
So I just, it's not us, it's them.
I don't know.
That's what you would say.
It's really tough when you do the heavy lifting on a Tuesday for several Tuesdays in a row, and it's like it didn't make it. And it's like, well, I mean, you can't blame us. I mean,
You
But
can
anyway.
only
We
drink
were-
so much between the two of you.
And it was a lot between the two
It
of
was
us
a lot
every
between the two of
Tuesday.
us on a Tuesday, and then every other day of the week, I was still there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what are they fucking talking about?
We'll blame Julia then.
That's fair. I do live the farthest away, so
Yeah.
that's fair. I got tired of driving out that way. That's the truth of the matter. Maybe. Let's see. Discussion on if BC's Brewing Company will have non-BC beers. That was very cool. Their thought on what their whole tap list will be.
Yeah.
Very cool.
A
I think that'll
surprising
be-
amount of Budweiser.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, they got to
Yeah.
keep the hipster handles
Love those
flowing.
guys.
They've got to keep the hipster handles going. Let's see, what else do we have here? Gnome, you gave some legal and financial advice on
Always.
stocks and mug clubs,
Oh, good job.
which
Yep.
was fantastic. Being a brewery without brewing on site, which is always a fun conversation
Oh,
to have
yeah.
because there are so.
Oh,
Oh man.
let's not go down that rabbit hole right
Okay,
now.
all right,
yeah,
all right.
we have to.
Screw you guys. Quit pretending. This is a bunch of crap. It's my biggest pet peeve in the industry right now. And I know that there are great breweries and great tap rooms that are doing this thing, but damn it. Just stop. Just for the good of the industry, stop. Stop pretending you make beer if you don't make beer.
Yep.
Yeah. The last note that I had.
Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just.
and not your version of the truth.
we
like
don't-
we
The,
do.
We
the
don't-
honest truth, not
we
the
don't-
truth beer consequences truth.
We don't actually care if you make beer. We just
Right.
want to know.
Right.
We just
Right.
want to know.
Exactly.
We know that somewhere you make beer.
That's the thing. People don't care.
They don't care.
don't
Just
care,
be
no.
honest.
Right.
Just be honest.
Right.
Help us understand what's happening. And
Yeah.
They don't
it gets
care
on my
until they
nerves.
find out that you're, lying or being dishonest about something, and then they go, okay, so what
And
else?
then they
is there?
lose faith in the brand, and it
Yes.
becomes this whole other
Yes.
thing, and then you become the enemy, and it's so complicated, but it's so simple. Just
Agree.
be honest with your customers.
Yeah.
Tell them who you are, tell them what you're doing, and they'll be okay with it.
And that extends beyond beer. Just
True.
be honest with your
True.
customers.
True.
That's maybe with life.
Yeah, right.
Just be honest with everybody.
What
I
you
know.
learned as a 5-year-old that honesty is the best policy. It really is.
really
it's
is.
really that easy.
They gave an opening date for the brewery. The opening date is 2 months from tomorrow.
2 months
2 months from
Correct.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you ask me tomorrow, when are they going to open?
2 months.
2 months
months
from
from
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yes. Yes. Which is solid. Can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cannot wait. Was there anything else that anyone had on anything Gnome or anything from any of the shows that we talked about tonight before we wrap this up and untie Elijah from the train tracks and actually let him go home?
He's going to take us to the train tracks and show
Yeah.
us how
Oh,
to
shit.
tie somebody up.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not volunteering for that.
No, it's Marco.
Oh, it's Marco.
Definitely
Is
Marco.
Marco tall enough to fit across the train track?
That's what we're going to figure out.
We're gonna find out.
What's
We're gonna find
a
out.
standard train track? Is it like
train track?
4 feet, 5 feet? I don't know how
I think
big.
it's like 4 feet.
4 feet.
Yeah.
I'm
We'll be
fine
close.
with
We'll be close. We'll
Top
get
of his
it.
hair to the tip of his toes.
Yeah, we'll
he
get it.
might.
Yeah.
He might.
Yeah, we'll get
We
it.
got this.
Yeah.
Elijah, thank you so much for sticking around and being a part of our nonsense. We absolutely loved having you here. Gnome, likewise.
Oh, cheers,
Always
guys.
a great time. If you like what we did tonight, like, subscribe, review, share, follow, all of those things. We are at Truth Beer Pod on all the social media platforms. Follow our sister podcast, Cincy Beer Events. We tell you all about the Cincinnati beer events that are happening.
I've never met this
Surprise!
sister of yours. Where is she?
No.
Not,
Julia's intentionally making sure you
your
don't meet
sister. The podcast sister.
If there's something you'd like to tell us, our email address is truthbeerpod@gmail.com. Just go to truthbeerpod.com for everything, including how to subscribe to our Patreon so you can get unedited episodes of everything.
Hold on a
It's-
second.
I'm sure your sister is
Elijah?
lovely, by the way. I'm just asking.
Elijah,
yeah, she's-
as a Patreon
Yes.
subscriber,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, no.
tell the
too,
people.
but-
Tell the people, Gnome as well.
It's terrible.
Tell the people.
Terrible.
Do we bring the extra content?
They do, and there are additional D's brought to the Patreon.
All the D's. There are so many D's on their Patreon.
All right, guys. What are you going to be doing next Tuesday?
Oh,
Bring in the D.
Bring in the D's.
Cheers,
Cheers, everyone.